touch of your hand will let me know you take me in and let me go. If not for love, why would we meet? How is it done, two into one, so easily? We're lifted up by angels, higher than the world, strong enough to leave it, bound to learn the secrets angels never heard. We're lifted up by angels. You understand, yet never say how every plan would fade away if not for love. Where would you be? Ashes to dust, water to rust, away from me. We're lifted up by angels, higher than the world, strong enough to leave it, bound to learn the secrets angels never heard. We're close enough to heaven.
Holy cow, Spirit is in the house. So I invite everyone here today to just take a deep, relaxing breath. Just feeling yourself in this space, surrounded by love, by Spirit, by the infinite all, the truth of who you are. For I know that there is only one power and one presence, one infinite intelligence that is here right now, showing up as each and every one of us. We are saturated by this divinity, immersed in love, peace, gratitude, wholeness. Everything is unfolding perfectly, for everything is in divine order, and divine order is in everything right here and right now. Just the way that we're showing up and just the way that we're not. I am so grateful to be here. I am so grateful that everyone is here as well. Everyone in this room, everyone beyond, everyone watching from afar, and even beyond this planet. Because I really doubt that this is where all of life is happening. So it is from this conscious awareness that I declare my word, knowing that today is blessed, all is good, and so it is. Today's reading is selected from a book called In the Flow of Life by Eric Butterworth, one of my favorite Unity authors and ministers. And the title is The Infusion of Light. We are living today in a complex and changing world. If there's one thing that needs more than anything else, it is light. Light in terms of insight into self, guidance along life's way, knowledge of the secrets of the universe, and the wisdom to use it and not abuse it. The clearest thinkers the world has produced have always seen the course of their lives as a quest for light. And yet invariably, for many, the search has been out there. We have thought of light in terms of ideas and innovations, or the minds that gave birth to them. His followers saw Jesus as the light, instead of the one who gave evidence of the true light that enlightens every man coming into the world. It is true that he said, "I am the light of the world." But he also said, "You are the light of the world. Let your light shine." Light is the reality of God within all creation. It is the reality of our own potential. All overcoming, all healing, all self-expression is the inevitable effect of the dawning of light within and its infusion without. It is of this that Isaiah spoke. Then shall the light break forth as the morning, and thy healing shall spring forth speedily. And so it is, and may you remember you are the light of the world. You are shining brilliantly and beautifully, and I'm very grateful for that and for you.
I just have to tell you that Alexa and I just did a concert together at the Criterion to a full house with Dr. Kirby Shaw's group. And since I met Alexa, I wanted her to be in that choir for me. And so she had an opportunity to do it this time, and I had in my mind her singing this song. This is a manifestation story, very quick. And a couple weeks went by, and she didn't audition for any solos. I said, you have to audition for one song. You just have to. And she did, and she got the solo, of course. And she did this in front of a full choir, full house at the Criterion, and it was just like a dream. It was like a dream come true. It was so beautiful. So we're going to share that song with you. It's called One Song.
If we all sing one song of love, one song of peace, one song to make all our troubles cease, one hymn, one beam, one hope, one dream. Imagine what tomorrow would bring if we all sing one song.
one song to make all our troubles cease. Imagine what tomorrow would bring if we all sing. If we all sing one song. If we all sing one song. If we all sing one song of love, one song of peace, one song to make all our troubles cease. Imagine what tomorrow would bring. Imagine what tomorrow would bring. Just imagine what tomorrow would bring. If we all sing. If we all sing one song. One song.
Wow. I bow to you both. Oh my goodness. They love you. Oh, wow. Yeah, let's imagine that tomorrow, shall we? That evening at the Criterion was amazing. This was just a snippet. It was all like this, uplifting, beautiful, amazing. And Lauren was the accompanist. Yeah, and of course, gosh, Alexa, what a gift. What a gift. Wow. Whew. Moments like this, I say, we're already glad we came this morning. So today, we wrap up 6-week series called Diving into the Divine Flow. And as we wrap it up, I've entitled this message today, Lighten Up. Because I think that's the overall message of this lesson in prosperity. Lighten up. You know, we do not live in a scarce universe. We live in a teemingly abundant, giving, loving universe. And the more we know that, the more we experience that. So I want to recap a little bit the last 5 weeks and then share one more spiritual practice that we haven't mentioned yet. So hang on to that thought. We have been using a book called It's Not Your Money by Tosha Silver, How to Live Fully from Divine Abundance. So the first thing we learned was to say goodbye to my. It's not my money, it's God's money, all of it. We can't take anything with us, and nothing else is the source of our good. It's not our job, it's not a relationship, our trust fund, our investment, our health, none of it. God is the only source. And we talked about if we know that and live that, how everything works out. I shared the story that was so cute in the book. Tosha Silver, the author, had a grandma who was a Polish-Russian immigrant. Remember I told you that she used to take Tosha to lunch when she was a young girl twice a month. And she would park the car in this big parking lot at the restaurant, and she would say, now, we need to remember this car right here so that we don't get lost on our way back. We're parked right next to this nice car. And of course, they'd come out of the restaurant, that nice car would be gone and they'd be lost. And finally, one day, Tosha said to her grandma, I think we need a different method. Why don't we say we're parked 2 rows in from the entrance to the mall? And that analogy, that fixed point, is what we need to use when we think about the divine. We're not thinking about our income right now. Am I making music as I talk?
Yes, you are.
Wow. Thank you, universe. So if we use God, spirit, divine intelligence, divine love, whatever we want to call that infinite source as our North Star, as the fixed point that we use to orient ourselves, everything works out for the best because God is changeless. Everything else can shift. The other thing I invited us to do early on in this series, I was remembering a little news station in New York City. I lived in Scranton, Pennsylvania growing up close by, and their mantra, their motto was, "You give us 22 minutes, we'll give you the world." And I suggested that maybe we should give God 22 minutes each day in peace, in stillness, and quiet, because that's the way we hear the voice of the divine. We hear divine guidance. We need to get still. So that's one of our spiritual practices in this teaching called Unity, Science of Mind, New Thought, is meditation. Prayer is another. And we learned a Change Me prayer early on. That there's still a handout in the other room if you haven't seen it. The Change Me prayer invited things like, let me give without fear, let me be open to receive, let me know my worthiness to receive. Some of us carry around thoughts that we're not worthy, or that something's wrong with us. And then we talked about 5 steps in the book, and the 5 steps were the prayer, then came beginning to clean house. I'm still in progress with that. I don't know how you guys are doing. Moving stuff out that no longer is used, no longer serves us, and making room for the new to come in. It's quite an important practice when we want prosperity in our lives. Stop complaining about money. So we say things like, instead of I can't afford blah, 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 or I don't have enough, I choose to spend my money in this way, and I'm open to receive, which is another one of the steps. And I've changed that not just to I'm open to receive financial good, but you can use it to, I'm open to receive my next job, I'm open to receive my perfect health, I'm open to receive a perfect relationship, open to receive whatever it is you're wanting to experience in life. Gratitude was another step of the 5 steps. We all know how important that is, to be thankful for what we do have. And the practice in this case was not to journal 18,000 things we're grateful for, nothing wrong with that. But it was to take one thing each day and really feel how grateful we are for that. Right now, it might be our incredible music team in this community for me that supports me as well as I'm supporting others. It might be your family, of your nuclear family. It might be your health. But to really feel that and get in that space of gratitude. And finally, I think I've gotten them all. Reverend Bonnie, when she spoke, talked about little nuanced ways to practice this stuff. A God box where we turn over our concerns and put them in the God box and let them go. Then there was also the smashing of coconuts or melons to let go what no longer serves us. So in terms of lightening up, we not only let go of physical things that are cluttering our physical environment, but remember the talk I did on inner house cleaning. So letting go of feelings of not being enough, letting go of thoughts about scarcity, letting go about judging ourselves or others. Forgiveness is a big, big factor, because all of that inner house cleaning helps us lighten up, yes? When we carry around judgments and anger at other people, we're surely not light. I was reminded this morning of a story I have told recently. Remember the story about the 2 monks, one older experienced monk, one younger one, walking on a journey. They come to a river that's pretty fast flowing, and there's a young, beautiful woman standing at the water's edge wondering how she can get across. And she asks them for help. And they both look at each other because they've taken a vow not to touch a woman. And really quickly, the older monk just goes over, picks her up, carries her to the other side, and sets her down. The younger monk crosses, and for the next hour, he's so fuming because he can't believe the older monk did that. He gives him the silent treatment. Another hour goes by, and another hour. Finally, after 3 hours of the silent treatment, he says to his partner, I can't believe you did that. We took a vow not to touch a woman. How could you just throw her over your shoulder and take her across the river? And the older monk says, I set her down a long time ago. Why are you still carrying her? But we do that, don't we? We carry around judgments that we made a mistake, or judgments that someone else did something wrong or did us wrong. We carry it, and it doesn't allow us to enjoy the present moment, to be here now, like the book that Prudence and her Sangha are studying, Eckhart Tolle's, the power of now. Richness and blessings and peace and connection are only found in this now moment. So lightening up. Last week, the last talk I gave, I called Frog, Fully Relying on God. Again, it's like the North Star, right? Nothing else can we put full faith in. We can always trust. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding. And finally, in terms of receiving divine guidance, we talked about how we can tell when it truly is divine guidance and not just our egoic self nudging us to do something that maybe isn't the right thing. And so you may have remembered I came up with 5 S's that are characteristic of true divine guidance. It comes usually suddenly, out of the blue, spontaneously. It's usually simple. It's directions like do this or don't do that. It's supportive. It's never going to tell you to do something harmful to you or anyone else because it is the voice of love. It's steady. Divine guidance nudges us and nudges us and nudges us, and hopefully until we listen, because sometimes we don't. So in all of this, we've talked about quite a few spiritual practices, because after all, unity and science of mind are both practical spiritual teachings, not just pie in the sky, we're going to teach you some theories. So we've talked about meditation, getting still. We've talked about affirmations, I'm open to receive. We've talked about prayer, certainly. We haven't directly talked about sacred service, which is another spiritual practice, but if you may have noticed that all this past 6 weeks, we've been recognizing in the newsletter and here, honoring our volunteer teams. So many people in sacred service. Right now, Corey and Tom and Shannon on our video team, allowing you people watching online, so glad you're with us and so glad they're here to allow that. So many teams. So sacred service. Then there's education. We are offering so many classes here, and I know a lot of you are in them right now. That's a way to remain aware of the divine and aware of the connection and aware of the good that's available to us. So we have meditation, affirmation, prayer, sacred service, education. There's one more of the main spiritual practices we teach. Anybody can think of what it is? Begins with a T. Tithing. And I shared with somebody, I always have a little bit of trepidation once a year when we do this talk on tithing, because many of us grew up in traditions where this felt like an obligation and there was guilt instilled if we didn't tithe. And so I want to dispel that once again, and I will talk about this spiritual practice more as what I call conscious giving. And it is a spiritual practice, so remember, spiritual practices are designed to help whom? Us, right? Not the church or the priests or whatever. And certainly when you, well, so let's go back. Let's backtrack a bit. Originally, tithing meant sharing 1/10 of all the good that you receive with the place or places where you receive your spiritual nourishment. So in the old days, and by the way, tithing happened in all kinds of civilizations, Assyria, Babylonia, Greece, Romans, Egypt, everyone. And what they did in those days, of course, was they gave 1/10 of their crops or 1/10 of their livestock to the temple, right? And there was something magic about that number 10. And the idea, of course, is that when you give, you receive. It's seeding the flow, but it's also recognizing where am I being spiritually fed, and it's giving gratitude for that. So I want to talk about it as conscious giving, because when we're grateful for what comes in and consciously decide to give a portion of it back to where we're spiritually fed, we're receiving that great feeling of being grateful for everything that comes to us, and we're more aware. So for instance, we might tithe on our paycheck or our Social Security or our investments, but we might also do conscious giving based on something else that happened. Like I went to lunch and my friend bought me lunch. And it was a $20 lunch, so now I get to think about who might I share that $2 with? And think about where you're spiritually fed. Hopefully part of where you're spiritually fed, hopefully a good part of it, is here in our community with the music and the message and the classes and the support of the community. But it might be, where else are you spiritually fed? Anybody? Nature, okay. That's an interesting one to figure out how to tithe to that. You might tithe to the national parks or something, right? I think a lot of us are spiritually fed by authors, by musicians, certainly. We can tithe to you too. We're spiritually fed sometimes on podcasts with people that host podcasts, artists, right? There are a lot of ways. So to really be conscious, one, of what comes in the totality of how it comes in, and two, where am I called to share a portion of that good as a thank you? So, conscious giving, all right? Are we all still breathing? Laura's giving me a thumbs up. Truly, truly. Now, I must say that when we ask for a pledge each year from people in what they intend to give to this community for the year, two things. It helps us budget so that we're not overspending what comes in. It's something that you can always change. I mean, life does change. God doesn't, but life does. So if you decide to pledge a certain amount and your circumstances change either for the good or for the worse, you're either receiving more good or less, you can always change your pledge. But we are going to pass out pledge cards today and ask you prayerfully to consider making a pledge for this coming year. This is another way to look at conscious giving. I love this phrase, and I think it may have come from the book. Conscious giving is practicing the privilege of being a divine circulator, the receiver and the giver of the gifts of God. That is a beautiful thing. Every week when we do our offering, we say, "Graciously I give from a place of love, knowing that as I give, so do I richly receive." Yeah. That's the way the law of giving and receiving works. And the interesting thing about tithing or conscious giving, circulating our good, is that it opens the door. You know how we talked about lightening up and passing along what we're giving from our surplus. We're not giving from our need. The interesting thing is it opens the door not only for more financial good to come in, but good of all kinds. We're lightening our load, we're sharing our good, we're in a place of gratitude, we're vibrating at a pretty cool rate by being conscious givers. So, let's see. When we have the offering come around, you're going to receive a pledge card. What I invite you to do, and I did this early on, by the way, I tithe 10% on my gross income to this center because it is the main place I am spiritually fed. I'm not saying you have to do that. I would never, ever say that. What I am saying is consider what you're giving now and compute it by a percent. In other words, if you're giving $100 a month to this center, figure out what percent that is of your total income. Maybe it's 1%, maybe it's less, maybe it's more. And if that's what you're giving, consider upping it just a bit. Never do I want people to give out of fear. Like, okay, I'm going to tithe 10%, but I'm scared I'm not going to pay the rent or mortgage or feed myself. No, no, no. That's going to bring lack, right? You have to give from a place of abundance. But to push yourself to give a little more, kind of edging up to that 10% mark. I think I started at 5% back when I was just beginning practitioner studies and into this notion of conscious giving. And I edged it up until I got to 10%. And the deal when you talk to people who do tithe 10% is somehow that 90% seems to go a lot farther than they ever imagined. I love Frank Young, and he's no longer able to join us most Sundays, but he was a firm believer in tithing, and he got up here and he'd say every year, amazing how it works. Give 10% to God, and you have plenty, plenty. And here's another little idea. So that's one idea, convert it into percentage. And I don't need to know what percent of your income. Nobody needs to know that. But you're going to take, okay, if I'm giving $100 a month now, and that's 1%, I'll bump it up to 1.5%. And then you put, I'm giving $150 a month. You just put the dollar a month, or so much a year. So there's places on your card, either monthly, however you receive your payment. I'm pledging this month, a year, or a week. There's also a place on this particular pledge card based on work we've been doing with our development team, which Jordan is a member of, and let's see, Carol Wythe and Kathy Green and Rev Steph. We're working on developing our consciousness and our capacity to be abundant and to eventually move into a new place. And so there's a place on there where you might say, I'm committing to at least this amount, not just for this year, but for the next 3 years. Totally up to you. And again, that can change if your circumstances change, for the better or the lower. But that's one more little box you can consider. So I think that's what I want to say about the mechanics of all of this. Oh yeah, one more thing. And this was really fun. When I taught the class, the 5 gifts for living an abundant life, we started out with tithing, and we encouraged everybody to tithe a full 10%, at least for that 8 weeks, and watch what happens. And that's an experiment you might want to try. I know Kathy Colley knows all about this. She's written books about it. It's really, really amazing what happens when you're in that giving mode. So if you're not ready to give 10%, whatever that number would represent for you, you might consider doing this. And this was really fun when I started out. Say I'm given 3% of what's coming in, and that's my tithe, and I feel good about it. But it's not technically a tithe, it's a conscious gift. Think about unexpected income. Like I said, someone takes you to lunch. An aunt gives you $150 for your birthday. I don't know, unexpected ways income can come in, and commit to giving 10% of unexpected income to some place where you're spiritually fed. And that's really fun, because what happened in that class, my income wasn't great when I was taking that class. I was kind of between jobs. But every time an unexpected gift came in, I was like, oh goody, I get to give. It was really cute. Another thing I will share with you is a lot of us give online, and that's great because we don't have to think about it. At times in my life, I have decided to write the check every month, just because it was a more conscious practice. And I still give online. I don't know, it's just one less thing I have to think about. But it was a really lovely thing twice a month when I get paid to look at all that came in and to go, wow, I get to write a check for X amount to my spiritual community. And I guess you've heard, it's nice to put that in an envelope and seal it with a kiss or seal it with a blessing. So it's a lovely, lovely way. So I hope I haven't scared anybody. You all look like you're still breathing. This truly is a spiritual practice to add to all the others we talk about and support. So in closing here, wrapping up this whole series about living in the divine flow, let's remember to keep God as our North Star, not that blue car sitting in the parking lot. To remember who is the changeless source of all our good. Let's remember to fully rely on God, to turn over, to offer our concerns, our fears, whether it's in a God box or whether it's sitting with a practitioner who will pray for you knowing the truth. Every Sunday morning, I pray with a practitioner on duty, and I'll tell you this morning, Laura and I lifted each other up in prayer. It's a beautiful thing, and our practitioners offer that every Sunday after service here, as well as private sessions if you're interested. Let us remember to set down our burdens, not like that monk who kept carrying his resentment for hours and hours. Let's let them go. Let's learn to forgive, to lighten up. And I'm going to close with this quote from another book that I've used in the past, The 5 Gifts for an Abundant Life. GIFTS is an acronym. Gratitude, intentions, forgiveness, tithing, and surrender. And this is what Diane Harmony said. She said her first intention in guiding you on this adventure is not creating of health, wealth, career, and relationship success in your life, although I believe all these and so much more shall be yours. She said, rather, my first intention is to hold the space for you to become fully liberated from all survival fears so that you are free to devote your time, resources, and energies to deepening your connection with your infinite source and living more of your divine self to the fullest possibility of who you are. Anybody in here not want that? Deeper connection with your source and living our fullest selves to our highest potential. Let's fully rely on God. Let's practice all the spiritual practices, meditation, affirmations, prayer, sacred service, education, and tithing, or conscious living, conscious giving, conscious living. Let's go into prayer. Let's take a deep breath together. And a deep breath out. Letting that breath represent that flow that we've talked about these last 6 weeks. That infinite, unending flow of divine good, of goodness, of love, peace, harmony, freedom, clarity, order. God is so many things, so big sometimes I can't quite imagine it, knowing that it's everywhere all around me, but also within me, within each one here. We are each unique, precious incarnations, emanations of that one divine source. And we absolutely know that source is inexhaustible, it is infinite, it is absolute creativity. And so at times when we seem to be at a loss for the next step, at a loss for a solution to a problem, when we fully rely on God, when we remember that spirit, divine source, infinite intelligence, love intelligence is the North Star upon which we can focus and rely, everything else works for the good. And let us remember to lighten our load, to forgive, to let go, to forgive ourselves, to pass along things that no longer are needed, and to consciously give a portion of our good to where we are spiritually fed. These are ancient teachings, ancient practices that help us to do just what this author was talking about, to deepen our connection to divine good and to deepen our living more fully from divine abundance. So I bless right now everyone in this room. I bless everyone listening online. Let's bless everyone worshiping in whatever format, in whatever venue, in whatever religious tradition that they worship in, knowing, as I love to say, there's one God, many paths. And let us say a special blessing today for all the people in the Mideast, for all people everywhere suffering poverty, lack, war, violence, whether it's in a home or in a whole nation. For we know that we're meant to sing one song, one love, one people, one life, one God. We cannot be separate from one another. In gratitude for these teachings, in gratitude for the opportunity to talk about conscious giving, I release this prayer, knowing as all prayers, it's heard and it's answered, and we say together, so it is, my friends. Thank you.
So in the spirit of unity, it is Unity Sunday. If you would grab your hymnals and turn to page 212. Those of you from Unity know that number probably by heart. So may we be one. And it is the song Weave Us Together, the Christ in Me, 212. Yes. Weave us together, weave us together in unity and love. Weave us together, weave us together, together in love. We are many textures
instruments playing our own melodies, each one tuning to a different key. But we are all playing in harmony, in one great symphony. Weave us together, weave us together in unity and love. Weave us together, weave us together, together in love. A moment ago, still we did not know our unity, only diversity. Now the Christ in me greets the Christ in thee, in one great family. Weave us together, weave us together in unity and love. Weave us together, weave us together, together in love.
Yes. Beautiful. Now is the time to share our conscious giving gifts, or our tithes and offerings. Our ushers, come on forward, please. Thank you so much, Will and Patricia and all our ushers, and Vivian. There are 2 baskets coming around, one for your gift and one for your pledge card, which we encourage you to take home and pray about, or if you want to fill it out today, that's great too. So let's share our affirmation together. If you'd say after me, please. Graciously I give. Graciously I give. From a place of love. From a place of love. Knowing that as I give, so do I richly receive. And so it is. James.
You'd think this was a gospel church, wouldn't you? Well, it is.
That's a funky gospel, right?
It is.
That's cool. Very cool. Love it. The baskets are going to continue to go around, but we have a few announcements. If you were here last week, you know that Rowan Alleg, one of our teams, is on Ashland High School snowboard team, and they are selling Christmas wreaths again as a fundraiser for all their travels. He will be in the social hall for $27. You can get a beautiful, real, live Christmas wreath. For $32, you can get one with a bow. So if you haven't placed your order, please consider doing so. We love to support our teens. Drumming Circle meets today after service because it is the 4th Sunday. Will be here, and there are drums available, or you can bring your own. Unity's Prayer and Metaphysical Reading Group is meeting again on Tuesdays at 10:30, followed by Tai Chi at 11:30. And Miracle Makers also meets this week on Wednesday, 10:30. Some of our groups meet first and third. Some of our groups meet every other, so it's tricky keeping track. We do our best. There's a meetup event coming up that I want to encourage you to consider attending. Jean Hanna, I don't know if you guys know this, but she is a beautiful artist. I was privy to go to her opening of her art show and bought for my sister and her wife a beautiful, beautiful mask as a Christmas gift. They're hard to buy for. And so her art show is continuing at Belfiore Winery. And on Sunday, 10/29, so that's a week from today, Kathy Green has posted a meetup. It's Kathy's birthday, Jean's art show, and one of our favorite bands, Blue Lightning, is playing. So consider signing up on Meetup for that. That's from 5 to 7 next Sunday, or contact Kathy if you want to reserve. We've got a table apparently there. I will be out of town. In fact, next Sunday, while I'm on that subject, we have an incredible young woman guest speaker, newly licensed minister, Audra Nicole. She is on fire, and she has been attending the Next Generation retreat this weekend, so she's going to be doubly on fire. You will not want to miss next Sunday. Yeah, she's awesome. And Rev Stephanie will be presiding. There is a Kirtan concert again on Sunday, November 5th after service with Parvati. That is Mount Shasta's premier Kirtan band that includes Anton and Laura, our music directors, and Alyssa Niram. Beautiful experience. They're asking for love offerings from $15 to $25 suggested, but no one turned away. So that's November 5th after service. Then there's a joint community meeting. Both Unity and Center for Spiritual Living, all members meeting on November 12th, Sunday after service. We're going to be voting on a series of agreements that we've come up with, both boards, about what life looks like when our two communities join. While I'm on that topic, until that happens legally, we're still separate. Once that happens legally, a lot of things shift. So for now, if you're going to fill out a pledge card and you've been giving to Unity, you're pledging that amount to Unity for now. But once we join, which we assume will happen, we'll see, we'll be one pot, we'll be one community, everything will be done together. So just so you know, nothing changes until everybody votes, and we'll see. Let's see, but I think we'll be together stronger for sure if that happens. Let's see, you can sign up for our weekly newsletter, and there's a sign-up sheet in Bosworth Hall, and prayer requests. Our prayer box, I think, is in the back of the sanctuary. Unity also has one, I think, still in the other room, Jean? Unity's prayer box, yeah. I think that is it. Yeah, I'm going to invite our practitioners and ministers to come on up front because they're going to be praying with you if you like afterwards. Practitioners and ministers. And I'm going to read, before we go to the closing song, I'm going to read something that Jean shared in her meditation. This is from Unity Prayers that come out monthly, because I just thought this was so beautiful. So in closing, centered in God, the source of peace, I pivot attention away from my concerns and toward the silence, where peace is my experience. For a precious moment, I renew and refresh my mind, clearing and opening to the peace of now. God is my peace. Take it away, musicians.
Everyone, please stand if you're able.